You think you know palace drama, but listen to this. I'm the emperor's twin sister. We swap places on the throne, secretly ruling each other's court. He undermines my officials, I promote my favorites, and the chaos? It's delicious. I look exactly the same as the emperor, so to save effort, the two of us take turns ruling the court. He secretly demotes civil officials, and I respond by vigorously promoting military generals. On the day he was holding court, an 80-year-old general shyly asked him, "Your Majesty, I heard you plan to make me an imperial consort. Is that true?" 1. My brother and I are both emperors. On the day we were born, I came out a few seconds later than him and was also missing one crucial part, so I became a princess instead. Because we look identical, we've always loved swapping identities. After we grew up, we even took turns sitting on the dragon throne. But since our political views differ, we're constantly competing with each other. He favors military power and neglects civil governance, while I admire culture and try to restrain the military. He secretly demotes civil officials, and I deliberately promote military generals in response. Yesterday, he exiled my favorite civil minister to the borderlands. I was furious. All because that minister knocked out Qin Juantong's front tooth with a ceremonial tablet during court? Those two have been impeaching each other for ages. It was just petty bickering. Was there really any need for such a harsh punishment? I was determined to get revenge, but unfortunately the military generals had all been behaving themselves lately. I couldn't find a single fault to pick on. Last time, I punished the salary of any general who stepped into the court hall with their left foot first. After that, they got smart and started hopping in on both feet instead. Then, suddenly, inspiration struck. I issued an imperial decree. General Zhao was to be brought into the imperial harem, granted the title of imperial consort, and given the honorary name treasure. The next day, when it was my brother's turn to hold court, General Zhao, who had already retired and was living peacefully at home, hobbled into the palace on a cane. The old man was quite advanced in years, and his mind wasn't as sharp as it used to be. Unable to tell whether this was good news or bad, he happily accepted the decree and the rewards, then asked with a flushed face when the formal investiture ceremony would take place. After court was dismissed, I was chased down and thoroughly beaten. My brother accused me of abusing the elderly. That's not true at all. I genuinely meant to bring old General Zhao into the palace, so he could enjoy his retirement. He has no children and no family. How lonely must that be? Having an elder at home is like having a treasure. Don't you understand that?
2.
Honestly, being a diligent and wise ruler isn't easy at all. My brother and I push the responsibility back and forth every day. Neither of us wants to be emperor. No one wants to wake up at 3 in the morning for a 5 o'clock court session, then spend the entire afternoon buried under mountains of memorial reports. The moment the rooster crows, we're expected to be at court. Once, I was so exhausted that I fed the rooster a huge pile of grain just to keep its beak busy so it wouldn't crow. As a result, I overslept and was late, and received dozens of admonishing memorials from the ministers. They weren't scolding me for being lazy. Instead, they were worried about my health, saying I had previously worked myself so hard that I vomited blood and should rest more. I didn't vomit blood at all. I just accidentally dripped some cinnabar ink onto a document. But no one would listen to my explanation. Still, it worked out perfectly. I used the opportunity to dump all the work onto the other emperor. It's just a few fewer memorials to review. Look how happy you are, grinning from ear to ear, Rong said, scribbling elegantly with his brush and rolling his eyes at me. Humph. My teeth just feel a little warm, that's all. I wiped the smile off my face and put on a serious expression. Brother, last night I dreamed you became a god. You looked so majestic. When am I ever not majestic? But why were you kneeling at Erlang Shen's feet in the dream? Li Fu, I'm going to sentence you to death. Unbelievable. The emperor wants to kill the emperor. If Li Rong and I don't exchange a few insults every day, we both feel uncomfortable all over. And besides, the pile of memorials isn't really my fault. It's because Li Rong demoted my beloved civil minister. Minister Jiang. Oh no, I should call him Governor Jiang now. Loves writing more than anything. He sends more than 10 memorials a day. Sometimes he's describing local delicacies, sometimes he's copying down recipes. He's clearly enjoying life over there and shows absolutely no intention of returning to the capital. There were simply too many reports to handle. To make reviewing them easier, I ordered the creation of a bunch of official stamps to use instead of writing full replies. They included phrases like, noted, read, seen, no need to report further, approved, and even, I miss you greatly as well. Whenever I review memorials, I just need to stamp one of them on the page, saves a lot of effort. I used the 5-character stamp on Governor Jiang's reports several times, addressing him warmly as my beloved minister. Suddenly, he became strangely distant and stopped sending many memorials. Then one day, he joined several colleagues in submitting a joint petition urging the emperor to establish an empress. That was when I realized what he had misunderstood. He went out of his way to declare that his preferences were strictly for women. This Governor Jiang really has an overly delicate mind. And, of course, Rong couldn't resist stirring up trouble. He wrote back on the memorial. Minister Jiang, sometimes you only need to bend once, and your official career will be straight from then on. That scared Governor Jiang so badly he became even more reluctant to return to the capital. But I truly miss him. I heard from common folk that Lingyin Temple is especially effective, so I changed into ordinary clothes and went there to burn incense and pray. Rong laughed at me. Wouldn't it be better for a young person to be practical instead of messing around with superstitions? After I prayed just once, Governor Jiang sent a memorial overnight requesting to return to the capital. Before dawn the next day, Rong dragged me to Lingyin Temple. How exactly do you pray? Does my posture look correct? This humble believer wishes for long life and eternal rule over the realm. This guy actually wants immortality and endless power, making a wish worth millions with just a few coins worth of incense. He complains endlessly about getting up early for court, but when he doesn't want to trouble himself, he goes and troubles the Buddha instead. 3. If you ask me, Rong simply doesn't understand the charm of civil officials at all. Those scholars and ministers come to court dressed in the most colorful and elaborate outfits. It's like a gathering of peacocks every morning. Even someone as serious as Prime Minister Lin changes clothes 3 times a day and even wears perfume. With such pleasing colleagues around, going to court actually feels motivating. Now look at the military generals instead, especially in summer. Let's just say, I'd rather not talk about the smell. And I've even overheard them gossiping about me behind my back. The emperor just keeps talking and talking. We don't understand a word he says, and he goes on forever. Court is so boring it puts us to sleep. I know they want to be out on the battlefield, but we're living in a peaceful and prosperous era. Everyone is getting along happily. There's simply no war to fight. In the 2nd year of Yuan He, Rong finally got himself an empress. She was Hao Shui, the eldest daughter of great General Hao Meng. During the empress investiture ceremony that day, Rong was so nervous he sweated through his ceremonial robes. There wasn't even time to change before the auspicious hour arrived. Honestly, it's just a wedding. What's there to be so anxious about? In the end, I had to disguise myself as the emperor and personally confer the title upon my new sister-in-law, Hao Shui. I have to admit, being stared at so directly by those bright, autumn water eyes was truly mesmerizing. On their wedding night, Rong ran crying into my palace. Why are you here with me in the middle of the night instead of staying with your wife? His crown was crooked, and he looked utterly miserable. When I say good night to you, all you need to do is reply good night back, he complained bitterly. Not ask things like, how did you get into my bedchamber? Or, why is my window broken? Those are hurtful things to say. When the topic turned to the empress, Rong still looked traumatized. I'm the emperor, for heaven's sake. And she just slapped me right across the face. Apparently, during dinner, Rong had been picking through his food with his chopsticks, and the empress scolded him for it. Rong is incredibly picky about what he eats. Vegetables must be grown in the northwest, fish must come from the East Sea, ginger has to be from the south, and salt absolutely must be northern sea salt. Finally, someone who can control him. You're the one who likes military families, aren't you? How Shui is a general's daughter. Deal with it. Li Rong is clearly afraid of his wife, but refuses to admit it. He stubbornly stayed in my palace and wouldn't leave, claiming he wanted to help me share the burden of state affairs and review memorials together. Recently, there hasn't been much happening, and Governor Jiang hasn't made any outstanding contributions, so there's no excuse to transfer him back. Since I can't bring my beloved Governor Jiang back for now, and it happens to be his zodiac birth year, I rewarded him with many red gemstones. I also heard he likes fish, so I sent him a golden arowana as a gift. But today he submitted a memorial saying the fish had drowned. I froze, holding my brush in the air, not knowing what to write. Li Rong laughed at me from the side. You tried to flatter him but hit the wrong spot. When someone says they like fish, it doesn't necessarily mean they want to raise one. They might mean they like to eat fish. That imperial gift of yours has probably already gone for a swim inside Governor Jiang's stomach. Helpless, I finally wrote back. My beloved minister, do not grieve over the fish. I do not blame you. If you still like them, I can always send another. Li Fu, your favoritism is way too obvious, Li Rong said teasingly. Jiang Mu is exactly like his name, stubborn as a block of wood. If you don't speak plainly, he'll never understand. Don't presume to guess the imperial mind, I snapped back. Jiang Mu and I studied under the same tutor when we were young. He was naturally quiet and gentle, an especially well-behaved little boy. At that age, my heart was just beginning to stir, and Jiang Mu did have a bit of charm to him. Li Rong noticed my feelings and loved teasing me about it. By the lakeside pavilion with willows swaying, Jiang Mu often stood by the water reciting his lessons. Your Highness, what a coincidence, he would say. He would lower his gaze, his long lashes fluttering, and when he gave a small smile, 2 little dimples would appear. Every day, right on schedule, I went there to create chance encounters with him. At first, his face would turn slightly red, and he wouldn't dare look at me. Later on, he could look me straight in the eye, his gaze as upright and serious as a soldier's. I had just about prepared myself for a sweet and innocent little romance with him. But then, during one of our identity swaps, Li Rong, disguised as the princess, somehow ended up becoming sworn brothers with Jiang Mu. From that point on, no matter how I tried to show affection, Jiang Mu accepted it all cheerfully. After all, we were bros. What more was there to say? The only reason he ever thought about returning to the capital was that trip to the temple. But as time passed, he lost interest again. Li Fu, your future husband, is so happy out there he's forgotten all about home. Li Rong teased. Jiang Mu was born in the year of the goat, so I secretly called him Wei Qing. Unfortunately, Li Rong picked up the nickname too. That's all because you demoted him in the first place. I shot back. 4. That day, it was my turn to attend court. The entire hall was filled with cheerful laughter. It turned out the Northern Kingdom had sent over several beauties as tribute. They had an exotic charm, both men and women. The women were easy enough to arrange. Based on their talents and character, we could simply assign them suitable official positions. The problem was the men. Each of them was breathtakingly handsome, and the number of male officials at court was already close to full capacity. Prime Minister Lin chuckled slyly, his eyes darting around as some idea formed. Why not send these fine gentlemen to live in the Grand Princess's residence? For one, Her Highness has remained unmarried for many years. For another, we could hope they might help extend the royal bloodline. This Prime Minister Lin, every day it's either urging marriage or pushing for children. Whether it's my child or Li Rong's in the future, as long as they carry imperial blood, they can inherit the throne. Li Rong had just gotten married and managed to escape this round of pressure. Meanwhile, I still didn't have a husband, so I was constantly being nagged. At that moment, I was seated on the throne in the identity of Emperor Li Rong, not as the Grand Princess. I could only pretend to be thinking of my sister's best interests and had no way to refuse Prime Minister Lin. So I had no choice but to let him stuff those handsome men into my residence. That very night, I was surrounded by them. Each one tried to flatter me and show off their talents. I quickly rejected them all. I was exhausted. All I wanted was to sleep alone. Every day I stay up late reviewing memorials, then get up early for court. Balancing work and rest has left me thinner and thinner. The fact that I haven't developed corpse spots yet is already proof of how well I've been taking care of myself. I simply didn't have the energy to sample them one by one. And so, the three of them ended up being kept in my residence. You really can tell they're foreigners. Their way of thinking and doing things is completely different from ours. One of them refuses to stay indoors even in the dead of winter. He wraps himself in a blanket and sits outside, moving wherever the sunlight falls, claiming he's basking in warmth. Another one can eat enough for 8 people in a single meal. I sometimes wonder if he has a beggar living inside his stomach. My household truly couldn't support such an appetite, so I told him not to come to the princess's residence anymore starting tomorrow. He cheerfully replied, "Got it. Then I'll come again the day after tomorrow." The last one loves giving official titles to the cats and dogs in the estate, even ordering people to make clothes for them. He calls the cat Fierce Tiger and the dog Savage Wolf. Like Jiang Mu, he enjoys writing essays, lamenting spring and mourning autumn. He writes a memorial for every fallen leaf, and his study is almost overflowing with papers. After living under the same roof with them for so long, I feel like my mental state is drifting farther and farther away from being human, and getting closer to becoming some kind of immortal instead. 5. On a day when the stars were particularly clear, the imperial court summoned the astronomical bureau to divine the nation's fortune. The chief astrologer was only 20 years old, but his face already looked like that of an 80-year-old. He secretly took private clients too, performing astrology readings and changing people's fate. Interfering with so many karmic threads had aged him prematurely. The chief astrologer counted on his fingers, his expression deep and mysterious, and said, "Wei Yang." Yang means disaster. Wei Yang literally means no disaster, a sign of good fortune. With this joyful news, the palace held a grand feast. But amid the clinking of cups and toasts, the Northern Kingdom men behind me suddenly acted strangely. They drew long swords from who knows where, advancing directly toward me and Rong. Among all the civil and military officials present, few stood up to stop them. My favorite civil ministers were either exiled to remote regions or had withdrawn from worldly affairs to live in seclusion. The military generals Rong admired, upon hearing of the auspicious sign, had just taken leave a few days ago to travel the world with their wives and children. The northern female officials we had previously appointed, along with the remaining minor officials, had formed factions and secretly switched sides. They had clearly betrayed us. "Brother, what do we do if they rebel?" I whispered. "Sister, looks like we won't have to review memorials anymore." Rong and I were both dragged into prison. "Don't just celebrate. What if they wipe us out completely?" "Don't think about that now. Let's eat first." Rong, as emperor, had been busy greeting ministers at the feast and had barely eaten anything. Now he was starving. "All right," I agreed. Eating first, then figuring out a plan sounded reasonable. "This isn't fair. Why does your prison meal get 3 dishes and a soup, while I only have a dry steamed bun?" I demanded to eat Rong's portion. He generously gave it to me. All my life, he had never once let me have anything first. Could it be that hardship reveals true feelings, and he finally realized he should care for me, his little sister? "Here, eat the last meal." Rong was the emperor. He would be the first to die. I, a mere princess, might just survive. I slowly put down my chopsticks. Suddenly, I wasn't very hungry anymore. "Brother, don't be so pessimistic. They said they're only keeping us locked up for 1 day. "Yes, just 1 day. Tomorrow, the beheading." "Ah." That damned chief astrologer, pretending to be all mysterious, couldn't even speak clearly. Wei Yang apparently meant, the year of Wei will face disaster. Although I often told Rong to pick a bad day to go and turn it into a good one, now that death was really at the doorstep, I felt a little reluctant to let him go. "Brother." Overcome with emotion, I wanted to hold Rong and cry. He pushed me away with disdain. "Every time you call me brother, it never ends well." I had no choice but to wipe my tears and runny nose on my sleeve. 6. The 3 Northern Kingdom men came to inspect the prison. Since I had treated them reasonably well when I was in the Grand Princess's residence, they said they would release me. But for the rest of my life, I would be under house arrest in the princess's residence, not allowed to step outside a single foot. Seeing that there was still room to negotiate, I tried my best. Please, don't take Li Rong's life. Just take his heirs. Cut off the succession and we won't be any kind of threat. Li Rong was so moved he cried, then kicked me in the butt, and told me to scram. He's always like this, my sister worries for him, and he never appreciates it. After leaving prison, I received 2 pieces of terrible news. First, the Empress was missing, her fate unknown. Second, old General Zhao had passed away. Hao Shui, the eldest daughter of General Hao Meng, had been trained in martial arts from childhood and was exceptionally skilled. The northern forces hadn't fully reached the capital yet. I believed she was capable of protecting herself and must be hiding somewhere. Although I've never liked military men, old General Zhao had raised me. The old man was a little stubborn and strict when disciplining Li Rong, but toward me, he had always been kind. He had lived such a long life, and instead of peacefully enjoying his old age, he was shaken by the collapse of a kingdom. My heart ached. I was born as the noble Grand Princess, and for the first time in my life, I humbly asked the northern men to allow me to pay respects to General Zhao. I remembered his favorite food, snow pears. I held a snow pear, cut it in half, placing one half at General Zhao's grave, and keeping the other in my hand. I silently ate the pear, keeping company with the departed. That night, I was locked inside the princess's residence, unable to sleep. Outside, the cats meowed pitifully. The gate was guarded, so I couldn't leave. When I opened the window, the guards immediately stared at me. What were they afraid of? I couldn't run away anyway. Choo choo choo. Fierce tiger, come here. I called several times, but the cat ignored me. Choo choo choo. Savage wolf, come here. A yellow dog wagged its tail and came over. The little cat was too independent, but the dog obedient. Worth every bone I had fed it before. The guard still glared, drawing his sword. You react like this just because I played with a dog? Are you a dog yourself? He snorted coldly and turned away. Once unobserved, I played with Savage Wolf for a long while before finally letting him go. I didn't sleep a wink that night. There was no news of Li Rong's death either. After several inquiries, I learned that the elder northern commander, very old and devoutly religious, had forbidden the new commander from killing any living creature. He ordered the northern people to eat only vegetarian meals and pray for his longevity. To prevent anyone from secretly eating meat, livestock was banned. They could only cultivate plants. No wonder the northern man in my residence had been devouring food so greedily. He'd been on a vegetarian diet for so long that he was practically starving. He confessed to me. Originally, we had no intention to invade. The blame lies with your food. It was just too delicious. When I reported our piece back to the commander, I mentioned it, oh no, wrote some 8,000 characters about it, and that's when he got the idea. Li Rong and I had ruled together for years. The people were content, commerce and agriculture thrived, and granaries were full. Life was good, so everyone could spare energy to improve the quality of food, drink, and daily life, especially food, inventing new culinary tricks all the time. Unexpectedly, the Northern Kingdom didn't covet our land or wealth. They craved our food. Truly oppressive to the stomach. In their homeland, they could only eat vegetables until their faces turned green. Now they came to occupy our land and turn it into a dining hall. And this new commander was all pretentious about it. The chefs presented him with succulent lamb. He looked wary. No killing allowed. Where did this come from? The chef said. The lamb was killed by wolves. The commander feigned grief. Since it's dead, it must not be wasted. Slice it for hot pot. Amit ba. After finishing the lamb, the chef presented a fish. The commander asked again. The chef said, the fish was killed by a lamb. The commander pretended to be angry. How could a lamb on land kill a fish in water? The chef replied, it was a duck that pecked the fish to death. Then he served roasted duck. The duck had no fish to eat and would have starved. Respect the lives of a deceased. Eat it all.
Amitabha.
Sometimes, history isn't just about battles or politics, it's about the little clever moves behind the scenes. While our heroes were dealing with empires and intrigue, secret messages were being passed, alliances quietly formed, and even a tiny dog played a bigger role than anyone expected. Let's see how the story unfolds when strategy, loyalty, and a bit of mischief collide.
7.
The new northern commander had been indulging in all kinds of delicious food since arriving in the capital. After all, he couldn't harm anyone, so gradually, he forgot all about Rong. At exactly the first quarter of noon, all the northern men in the residence would suddenly collapse into a deep, carbon-like sleep. I took advantage of this opportunity to secretly pass messages to Hao Shuai. Our messenger? A little yellow dog named Savage Wolf. After all these years as emperor, my intelligence network wasn't just human, it included animals. Not a single creature in the princess's residence ate for free. I had trained Savage Wolf since he was a pup. He could distinguish radishes from paper, recognize all my hand signals, and deliver messages exactly as I commanded. Just letting him sniff a bracelet that Hao Shuai had given me, and he could locate her precisely and spit the tiny note from between his teeth straight to her. Hao Shuai wrote back, saying she had contacted the outside generals and that Jiang Mu was actively communicating with the civil ministers. In about a month, everyone would gather in the capital. 1 month. Ever since that last meal, nobody had bothered to deliver prison food. They were all too busy eating themselves. I genuinely feared that Rong would starve to death in prison. With no other choice, to support Rong, I had to sacrifice my own charm and try to seduce those northern men. I had been praised for my beauty since birth, so I had some confidence. But no matter how I posed or fluttered my eyelashes, they ignored me. I understood. I have a secret about food, I said. If you let me see Rong, I'll tell you. Hearing this, they leaned in, nodding eagerly. We agree. Tell us, what's the food secret? I lowered my voice, speaking with an air of mystery. Chew peanuts and dried tofu together. It tastes like ham. They all tried it and were amazed. When I finally saw Rong again, he had lost a lot of weight. He devoured the food I brought him, paying no mind to which region it came from, southeast, northwest, whatever, and finished every bite. I failed to protect the citizens, failed to protect my sister. A generation of emperors starves in prison, ashamed to face the late emperor. Signed, the saddest man in the world. Li Fu, can you not read someone's will aloud in front of them? And so loudly. Do I have no pride? What's wrong, Rong? You write it and then forbid it to be read? I dodged his attempt to snatch the will. In 1 month, Hao Shuai will bring the generals back to the capital. Rong looked relieved. I knew it. Cherishing the generals is the most effective. It was worth training them day and night in the camp, treating them like brothers. Jiang Mu and the civil ministers will soon join too. They've been secretly spreading information among the people, criticizing the northern men, and rallying public support. Thanks to my long-term recognition and promotion of talent, they've become like family. Rong scoffed. And here we are, still arguing, claiming our generals are the strongest. The real main force isn't necessarily who you think. Besides, when you were locked in prison, you were officially demoted to a commoner. On paper, I am still the Grand Princess. Though Rong maintained his imperial demeanor, he actually held no official power.
8.
Days passed, and finally, Hao Shuai and Jiang Mu arrived in the capital. Hao Shuai led the generals to encircle the imperial palace in 3 layers inside and out, forcing the person on the dragon throne to step down. The northern commander still refused to surrender, stubbornly resisting. Remembering he had a hostage, he ordered Rong to be brought from the prison. But Rong had already entered the princess's residence with me. We were both wearing the same women's attire. I moved about during the day, he moved at night. Without a leverage, the new commander targeted Jiang Mu and the civil ministers instead. Seeing their delicate, bookish appearance, he thought they would be easy to intimidate. He and his men prepared for a full-scale showdown, intending to break through Jiang Mu's defenses. Unexpectedly, Jiang Mu slowly helped out a white-haired elder. The northern commander's legs went weak, and he immediately knelt down in fright. "Grandfather, what are you doing here?" The northern kingdom valued filial piety above all and highly revered large families. Among the elder commander's grandchildren, only the new commander had consistently eaten vegetarian and prayed devoutly, never overstepping bounds, and thus was entrusted with much power and troops. During the month of occupying our kingdom, the new commander had been living lavishly with all the northern men, each one visibly plump and strong. He also had a temper. He wouldn't allow anyone to surpass him in any way. His appetite was 10 times that of others, and now his body matched it. When kneeling, his thick legs couldn't bend, so he collapsed with hands and knees, smashing the ground as he fell at the elder's feet. We were a small nation with limited troops. Jiang Mu had brought the elder northern commander and the remaining half of the northern soldiers. Now, their numbers surpassed the new commander. Moreover, all were well-fed and strong, making their weapons heavy to wield and slowing their movements. "This is your so-called friendly exchange abroad?" The elder scolded, glaring. "Look at what you've become." He angrily struck the new commander with his cane, but being old, he lacked strength, and the new commander's thick body bounced the cane back. I couldn't help laughing. Immediately, I straightened my expression. "Rong, why are you laughing? Don't think being emperor lets you laugh freely." Rong. The northern men left, or at least part of them did. Some abandoned their northern identity, choosing to stay in our kingdom as my subjects, eating our food. The new commander couldn't bear to give up power in the north, nor the delicious food. He gathered 2 full carts of recipes, intending to take them back. In the end, under the elder's sanction, only the vegetarian recipes remained. Before leaving, the elder apologized deeply. "I didn't expect my grandson to be so greedy, but his heart is not wicked. He harmed no life. We hope you will forgive past grievances. The Northern Kingdom will annually tribute grain and cloth as compensation." Rong agreed. The 2 nations signed the document. Honestly, peace had lasted so long that I never imagined war could erupt over anything, but here, it almost happened because of food. The 3 northern beauties went back with them, eternally grateful. "Thank you, Princess, for telling us the secret. Now we no longer fear the northern bland cuisine." Rong curiously leaned in. "What secret?" I smiled mysteriously, hands behind my back, silently claiming the credit.
9.
Life gradually returned to normal, and everyone resumed their respective duties. On the first day of court, Rong immediately dealt with the traitors who had stood by while people were left to die. In front of the Meridian Gate, over 100 officials were punished simultaneously, each receiving more than 300 lashes to their backsides. Jiang Mu and General Zhao were friends despite their age difference. The first thing Jiang Mu did after being reinstated was arrange a proper funeral for the general. Everyone remembered that the only casualty of that recent turmoil had been the general, and the mood was heavy. General Zhao had always loved geese, so Jiang Mu called on everyone to imitate goose calls at the coffin to comfort his spirit in the afterlife. Since the atmosphere was solemn and Jiang Mu was normally a serious man, nobody noticed anything strange about this request. They all joined in, and in no time, the hall looked like a goose sanctuary. Woo woo woo. GAA GAA GAA. Rong, of course, was the loudest. His martial arts had all been personally taught by General Zhao, so the bond was deep. As everyone cried and honked, the coffin lid suddenly lifted by itself. Rong, your crying is unbearable. Fu, you're too quiet. Commander Chen, why do you sound like you're laughing while crying? Did you lose a tooth? Remember to fix it. General Hao, were you imitating a goose or a cow? Mooing like that. General Zhao suddenly sat up in the coffin, pointing at each of us with critiques. The crowd jumped in fright, their cries turning into chaotic wails. Someone even found raw glutinous rice and started throwing it at the general. I'm not dead. It's all rumors. When the northern men learned that Rong and I had been imprisoned, General Zhao's first reaction was furious to the point of death. The servants overheard and spread. General Zhao is about to die of anger. Outside the general's residence, it became, General Zhao's anger will cause death. By the time it reached my ears in the palace, General Zhao has died from anger. 3 people make a tiger, indeed. Rong, overjoyed, hugged General Zhao. My dear minister, come to the palace. I never want to lose you again. By now, General Zhao's mind was clear. He half closed the coffin lid defensively and lay back down. Your Majesty, coming to the palace, is this for the harem? I felt a pang of guilt and looked at the floor. Of course not. You're here to live out your days. We will take care of you. Hao Shuai and Rong held the general's hands together, their gaze warm and resolute.
10.
On the 4th day of court, it was technically my turn to act as emperor. But I had been having a wonderful dream, and I really wanted to sleep in and continue it. So, I sent Savage Wolf to fetch Rong. Oh no, Savage Wolf was no longer called that. Its new name was Rong. Both, after all, were dogs. The little cat was named Jiang Mu because both animals often ignored me. They say giving animals humble names helps them live longer. I gave a dog the emperor's name. If it couldn't handle it, it would die young, but I wasn't worried. The princess's little dog was high-class enough to live up to it. What was a mere imperial name to us? Half asleep, I was pulled from my bed by Rong's attendants and carried straight to court. Before reaching the main hall, Rong grabbed me, teeth gritted, whispering, Li Fu, giving yourself titles is one thing, but raising your monthly allowance too, what is this about? He meant 2 days ago, when I acted as emperor and granted myself multiple honorary titles and extra monthly stipends. Rong, when you were starving in prison, I fed you. Isn't that merit enough? Why can't I give myself promotions and perks? Li Fu, you. Caught red-handed, Rong had no words. Why this rush to drag me to court? Is there something urgent? I strolled leisurely to the center of the hall. Rong's expression changed suddenly. He tried to stifle a laugh. Ask Chancellor Lin. Chancellor Lin stepped forward, raising his tablet. Grand Princess, it's time for you to marry. He waved, and a dozen men lined up behind him. These are brave and clever young men from the military, each stepping forward voluntarily, hoping to win the princess's favor. My late emperor. What is the matchmaker trying to do? A dozen strong, broad-shouldered warriors. I felt like I was about to have a phobia of soldiers. No wonder Rong was smirking. He was enjoying the show.
No.
Please don't. I didn't dare open my eyes, hoping these dozen hulking men were all hallucinations. I appreciate Chancellor Lin's kindness, but I already have someone I admire, I said, plucking Jiang Mu from the ranks of civil ministers. I held his hand tightly. Very well. Then the princess may choose a lucky day for her wedding. Chancellor Lin looked disappointed that none of his chosen men were selected. But seeing he had lost to Minister Jiang, he could accept it. Most importantly, he hadn't forgotten to urge marriage. I mumbled a few words to brush it off and led Jiang Mu out of court. Once outside, I let go of his hand. Did you only hold hands when others are watching? So, everything just now was for show? What did he mean? I looked up, puzzled, and met Jiang Mu's gaze. It was gentle yet melancholic, like early spring rain. Whenever he looked at me, a soft breeze seemed to slip into my chest, tickling me. I had used him as a shield in court, but I knew he still regarded me as a brother. Once we were alone, I carefully created some distance between us. Jiang Mu seemed displeased. Those 3 northern men, have you grown fond of them during their stay at the princess's residence? Why suddenly ask that? I was too slow to follow his shift in topic. Before I could answer the previous question, another had appeared like a ghost. It's nothing. If you don't want to tell me, that's fine. He turned and walked away. Though his face seemed cold, his back looked lonely. Was he upset that I had used him as a buffer for a suitor? Men's hearts, truly a needle under the sea. 11. General Zhao's days in the palace were absolutely delightful. Since Rong was always busy with state affairs, Hao Shuai had initially found palace life rather dull, less free than when he was unmarried, but now he spent every day sparring and practicing martial arts with General Zhao. Whenever two warriors met, it was either flying swords or swirling dust. I was walking my dog and even got enthusiastically invited to join in. I looked up at the two of them performing acrobatics on the 100-meter palace walls and shrugged helplessly. Hao Shuai was the first to realize, "Sorry, little sister, I forgot, you're a scholar. You can't leap across rooftops." "No matter. Scholars have their own forms of entertainment." I walked along, taking out a book, completely absorbed in reading. Chancellor Lin, though outwardly calm and serious, secretly noted colleagues' gossip and wild historical speculations, compiling them into volumes that circulated widely among the public. Civil and military factions have long been at odds. The previous prime minister faked death in his coffin, leaving a hole to breathe. When the former general paid respects, he deliberately blocked it. The prime minister nearly suffocated. Assistant Minister Meng was not a man but a tree. In the scorching summer, he shielded His Majesty from the sun and was rewarded. His Majesty and the Grand Princess are twins, occasionally swapping identities. Sometimes the throne had a female emperor. His Majesty supposedly had affection for young men, particularly favoring Minister Jiang. Minister Jiang seems to have his own tastes, too. When the Northern Kingdom sent handsome men as tribute, he rushed back to the capital. Learning that the beauties had entered the princess's residence, he wept for 3 days and nights and wrote over 10 melancholic poems. Chancellor Lin's writing was sharp and candid, commenting equally on everyone. I remembered when the civil and military factions had briefly reconciled, Lin had misspoken in court. The officials all attacked him verbally. Jiang Mu defended him in an intense debate, complete chaos. Both were nearly dismissed. Lin never forgot anything. He sparingly relished every morsel of gossip.
12.
Another year, another day for inspecting the people incognito. Last year, Rong went. This year it was my turn. Traveling among the populace is delightful, of course, and I brought my most trusted assistant. Previously, Rong had taken his prized military general, Hao Meng. Naturally, I brought my most beloved civil minister, Jiang Mu. According to data from the Court of Justice, Wang Yushi, who assisted Chancellor Lin, was suspected of corruption, so I was to investigate. When I visited Wang Yushi's residence, only the servants were present. They had never seen the emperor's true face, so I claimed to be a friend of Wang Yushi, requesting to stay. Seeing my simple attire, they initially wanted to turn me away. But Jiang Mu's ethereal presence made them hesitate, and they finally let us in. We wound through the alleys, into a deep courtyard, before being accommodated. Looking at the plain interior, I assumed Wang Yushi was unpretentious, and his home simple. "Excuse me, is this the East Wing or West Wing?" "This is neither. The East and West Wings are for royalty and high officials. This is the firewood storage." The servant scrutinized me disdainfully. I had my hair tied with a cloth, wore rough clothing, and my shoes were caked in mud. He raised his chin and sneered. "The Wang residence is vast. Don't run around. Every plant and stone is valuable. Don't break anything." I narrowed my eyes, suppressing my anger. Jiang Mu smiled faintly. "I understand. Everything in Lord Wang's residence is extraordinary. Even the dogs at the gate were impressively loud when we entered."
"What did you say?"
"I was merely complimenting the dog," he replied politely. The servant snorted and left. Now it was just Jiang Mu and me, staring at each other. His calm eyes made me nervous, and I pressed my lips together. I had to maintain my cover as Emperor Rong. I turned to examine the furnishings, pretending to contemplate. "My lord, any thoughts?" "The servants are obsequious. The household's culture seems dubious. But we must wait for Wang Yushi's return to judge conclusively." Strangely, Jiang Mu mimicked me by pressing his lips together. My heart trembled. Could it be? Did he have feelings for my brother? By evening, Wang Yushi returned, dust-covered and hurried. He tried to kneel at my sight, but I stopped him. Sitting in the grand chair, swirling my tea. "Wang Meng, do you know your distant cousins, abusing your authority, became magistrates in Bird City and Beast City, collecting taxes for 300 years ahead? Wang Yusher still fell to his knees. Lord, I truly did not know. I discussed state affairs daily with Chancellor Lin, often neglecting even personal grooming. If I had the chance to see their deeds, I would have punished them. I genuinely didn't know. Chancellor Lin had sent secret letters. Wang Mang did consult him frequently, often busy to the point of exhaustion. Occasionally, he would vanish and return home hastily, leaving tasks unclear. Uncle. A servant added tea, casually calling him uncle. Seeing their master kneel before me, the tray fell. Uncle.
How dare you?
The servant thought I was coercing Wang Mang and rushed forward to strike him. Jiang Mu immediately restrained him. Seeing the danger, Wang Mang quickly begged for mercy, not for himself, but for his nephew. Jiang Mu's voice was icy. Master Yusher, you are too lenient with your kin. Let today be a lesson to prevent further damage. Handling state affairs was exhausting. I sighed in relief upon confirming Wang Mang was not at fault. Otherwise, I'd have to find another diligent person to fill his role. Jiang Mu and I walked alone in the courtyard. You can fight? I asked, noticing how easily he had subdued the servant's wrists earlier. A bit, Your Majesty. Would that bother you? Of course not. I admire those skilled in both literature and martial arts. Deep down, though, I loved literature and Rong loved martial arts. Late at night, Jiang Mu and I were placed in fine guest rooms. That day, the servant knocked softly, saying he brought a few considerate people to entertain me. Before I could respond, several handsome, scantily dressed youths entered. They heard of your preferences from the books. Oh, I spoke too freely. To atone, we brought these attendants. Books? Did he read Chancellor Lin's collection? And these attendants were not merely considerate, they were highly personal in attention. Before I could react, they pressed close. I thought, can Wang Mang discipline his family? This was way out of line. In panic, my room was breached. Jiang Mu, face dark, glared at the intruders.
Out.
All of you leave. They quickly fled. Jiang Mu. I tried to explain. They had misjudged me. I was not a decadent emperor. Li Fu, how long will you pretend with me?
Ah.
We studied under the same grand tutor. How could I not recognize which memorials you approved? Sometimes you even wrote my name as Wei Qing instead of Ai Qing. Jiang Mu flushed as he spoke. I panicked, recalling how many memorials I had mistakenly approved while half asleep. I thought you wanted me back in the capital. When you held my hand in court, I thought we shared some connection. Yet you're always hesitant, distant, as if saying, it's not fate, it's choice. Jiang Mu lowered his eyes. Li Fu, what do you mean? Having focused on state affairs for so long, matters of the heart were suddenly bewildering. We had been misunderstanding each other, thinking the other saw us as a sibling? Both stubborn, both silent, both overthinking. Once the logic sorted, I decided to act on the dream I had. Wei Qing. HM? Jiang Mu looked up, eyes glistening. Close your eyes. I am going to kiss you. Honestly, ruling alongside my twin brother has been chaos, fun, and slightly terrifying. Every move he makes, I have a counter. Every scheme I craft, he almost sees through. But in the end, maybe having a twin on the throne isn't so bad. And yes, I admit it. Watching him scramble when I promote my favorites? Pure satisfaction.